I tried the Dragos LV for 30 days, so you don't have to. And as clickbaity as it sounds, in this video I'm gonna tell you why these shoes are probably one of my favorite indoor climbing shoes that I've ever had, so let me show you why. So the Drago LV is a bit softer and more narrow than the original Drago. I use these climbing shoes non-stop for a month, for training, regular sessions, and even for a comp. So, first of all, the biggest advantage of the Drago LV is versatility. This is a reliable, all-arounder climbing shoe. It's soft and sensitive enough for slabs and volumes, powerful enough for steep overhangs, and precise enough to stand on tiny footholds. It also has solid toe hooks and decent heel hooks. So with all of that, you got a climbing shoe that works for any style of bouldering indoors. That's why the Dragos have been so popular on the IFSC World Cup circuit for years. You can see pros using it for totally different boulder styles, from comp slabs in one round to big dinos. And the fact that they don't need to switch shoes between problems says a lot about how adapted the Dragos are. And that's honestly why I like it so much indoors. Like, I don't want to carry 3 pairs of shoes in the gym. I just want one pair of climbing shoes that I can trust for any styles. And for me, the Dragos LV are exactly that. So, versatility. So, for me, another advantage of the Dragos are the toe hooks. As I did mention it earlier, the toe hooks are really good. And personally, on every single boulder that had a toe hook, I felt like the grip was really sticking into the holds. While sometimes on other climbing shoes, it just feels like it's slipping away or just not gripping as much as I want. For example, on this V10, it was sticking super good into the arete, and previously I was trying it with the Dragos XT. Now I'm not trying to say that they're bad, it's just that when it has a second Velcro, it just takes away some toe pad. But right here, it was my first attempt with the Dragos LV, and it felt super easy and I could get the boulder straight away. So for that climb, the toe hooks were insanely good. Another example on why the toe hooks of the Dragos are perfect for me is on this V10 boulder. As we can see, right off the bat we got a small foothold and a smear on the volume, then a super delicate match with the foot on the volumes, and then proceeding by a cut loose. So of course with any climbing shoe that would have been alright, but the spicy parts come right here. There's another tiny foothold, and then the sequence I did for this boulder was putting a toe hook on the arete, and it was super delicate to take it out and place it just a bit higher to get my body a little more to the right, and then I brought my toe hook even higher on the hold. So it was a very delicate boulder that required some really good friction on the toe hook. If it would have just slipped like a millisecond, I would have been screwed. And after that crazy toe hook sequence, the ending wasn't too bad. A little risky to go to the last hold, but I could send the boulder. So if I'm being honest, I don't think I could have sent this boulder with many other climbing shoes, because the toe pad on the Dragos really helped on this boulder. By the way, pretty much every clip that I have in this video, I filmed it from the first session I had with the Dragos. And at first, I was a bit skeptical because I did have Dragos like 3 years ago, and I downsized so much. Just to give you an idea, these ones are 42s, and the ones I had 3 years ago were 41s. Trust me, my foot did not grow. So yeah, I didn't have a first good experience with these shoes, but now I really wanted to try the LV version, because the fit and the heel is of course a lot tighter, and I really wanted to try these shoes again with the right sizing. So, first thing I noticed for the comfort is that I finally understood why my friends told me that this felt like a sock. It just kind of felt like I didn't have a shoe in my foot, and it's kind of weird to explain because yes, they are super aggressive, they're asymmetrical, but when the fit is right, you just kind of don't feel it. It just feels light, because sometimes you feel like your climbing shoe is pressing somewhere in your foot, but this shoe is so soft that it just molds into your foot, and eventually it just feels like a sock. Even for my first session, I was surprised to see how comfortable they were after a few minutes. In 30 days, it didn't hurt my foot any moment, so very happy with the comfort of these shoes. And this can vary so much from person to person, because if you don't take the right sizing, or if your foot just simply doesn't fit this format, then yeah, you're screwed, because it's not gonna feel comfortable the whole way in. So for the disadvantage, I would say that the worst part about the Dragos are their durability. When I had my Dragos 3 years ago, this is what they looked like after only 3 months. And I was pretty sad to see that they only lasted me 3 months and everything else was intact, but the tip of the shoe was just completely ripped off. And of course, I know these are performance shoes, so their durability is usually pretty short for these kind of shoes. And a good option would have been to resole all of this part, but generally for intermediate climbers who want a shoe that can be good and last forever, this is definitely not the one that's gonna be there for like a year. So the durability is of course not the best, but in this case I actually expected way worse for 30 days. You can see that the line stayed almost unchanged, and what I mean by the line is that this usually goes down when you start to use it a lot, but for me in 30 days this is actually like almost brand new, so it doesn't feel like it's been used too much, but trust me, I did use it a lot. You know, maybe my technique got better all of a sudden and I don't really like drag it too much, and that way I don't use it. And of course, except the small tip, I think nothing much changed. You know, this rubber is pretty hard to just use to a point where it doesn't stick anymore. Same goes for the toe hook or heel. So it actually just feels like a brand new shoe. It does smell a bit, but you know, if you want your shoes to not smell, you can put products or put socks in your foot. But in my case, they do smell a bit. That being said, it's only been a month, and I think in 3 months it'll get to this point, so yeah. People are usually aware of this and still buy the shoes because it's still very performant. It's just that they don't last too much. With this though, I'm aiming 5 months instead of 3. So I have to be honest about the biggest disadvantage I found with the Drago LV, and that's the heel hooks. For me, personally, it just didn't fully lock in. Most of the time during training it was fine, and I could throw heel hooks on volumes, edges, and it just worked, but I never felt like the shoe was like glued to my foot the way I wanted. There was always like this slight looseness, and like I had to be just a bit more careful with how I set the heel. And this became a real issue when I competed last week, because in a comp, you really don't want to think about whether your shoe will stay on, you just want to trust it 100%. So in that moment, I actually switched to the Andra comps, because the heel on those sticks perfectly to my foot, it doesn't really budge, and it just gave me way more confidence on the boulder I was trying. So of course, that doesn't mean the heel is bad, it grips super well, and you know, I've seen plenty of climbers that have no problem with it. The point that I want to say is that the heel fit depends so much on your foot shape, and if you got a narrow heel, the Drago LV might lock in great, but for me, I just kind of had this weird bubble underneath. And you know, like last week in competition, that was the thing that was holding me back from being perfect. So for me, the heel is like the only downside, but it's not enough to make me stop using the shoe. It's just that when I know the heel hook is going to decide the climb, I switch to a different shoe. By the way, every boulder in this video is at Délire Escalade Sainte-Foy, the gym I climb to. So yeah, I just wanted to say that the setting is always amazing on our gyms in Quebec. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did try the Dragos, let me know in the comments if you guys liked your experience with these shoes. And if you haven't tried them yet, I hope you guys enjoyed my feedback on these shoes, because I really think for indoor climbing, for high performance, these shoes are probably one of the best. And of course, I forgot to thank Scarpa, but thank you again, Scarpa, for sending me these shoes. I really enjoyed climbing with these shoes for 30 days, and I just think it's really cool that you gave me the opportunity to do videos about it. So big thanks to Scarpa again. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, and I'll see you guys next time.